Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Stevecast. I am Steve, joined tonight by Rachel.
Hi, I'm so excited to be back. I'm really looking forward to this one.
And absolutely no one else, because everyone else saw what we were watching and understood they were not cool enough to be here. They were not cool enough to handle this.
No,
We
no.
are watching some garbage slash awesomeness that Rachel and I had discussed like doing for a while. It's like we normally do like longer movie or not longer movies, but hour and a half movies.
hmm
Sometimes we get a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But I've been curious, like could we do this with like an episode, like a TV episode or something?
Yeah.
How would it work when something that's like inherently shorter? Like I've considered like watching the first one or two episodes of Mantis, like one of the like a superhero TV show from the 90s. I don't think it
Oh,
lasted long, but Steve James is in a couple episodes.
oh, hey,
Uh,
I'm in.
so I've been curious about that. But our test for how does this work with an episode is a famous slash infamous
Infamous.
episode of Star Trek Voyager called Threshold. This is season 2, episode 15. If that name is ringing a bell, it's the episode where Paris and Janeway turn into salamanders and bang. Uh,
No king shaming. No king
yeah,
shaming.
if you're into to salamanders, stay away from my house, but you do you. It's fine. Wow, like this episode, I have not seen this episode, and probably this is another thing that I haven't seen in like 30 years. Like I watched Voyager when it was on, but I have not really
hmm
like revisited it since. Um, Rachel, what's your familiarity with just Star Trek as a whole? Are you a fan? I know you're a Star Wars fan. Are you allowed to also be a Star Trek fan?
I mean, listen, I am all about issuing binaries, okay? Binaries are so like last generation. We are past it. The gender binary, the Star Trek versus Star Wars binary, goodbye. I am non-binary when it comes to my Star Wars, Star Trek fandoms. So yeah, I do really like Star Wars, and I actually have a very, I mean, for obvious reasons, Voyager is probably my go-to one. It's got Captain Janeway, it's got Seven of Nine. This is a franchise that I like a lot. But I will say I didn't really watch it when it was airing. I was going to parties and had friends in high school, so you know that definitely
So
cut in
you
on
were
my
cooler than I
Voyager.
was, is what you're telling me?
I'm just fucking with you. No, but I mean, I didn't really watch it, but then years later I did, and it was kind of, I was telling you this before we started recording. It was the thing that I would put on at night, like to like wind down and go to sleep, and so I have technically seen this episode, but it was when I was going to sleep, and it was such a fever dream. I was not sure that it was real or if I cooked it up or what, because surely the events of this episode would impact later episodes, and yet it does not seem to have. So this will be a fun one to revisit fully awake and caffeinated.
Yeah, the Star Trek wiki has a page dedicated to every episode ever of everything Star Trek. But one of the links for this episode is continuity and trivia. So we might come back to that and
Oh,
just see
good,
like, is this
good.
ever referenced again? It's probably like 30 years later. There's some inside joke and some Star Trek thing that I've never seen. Uh, yeah, I've always like I can't say always. I like Star Trek, but I've never been like a super fan of it. Like Voyager is actually the first Star Trek thing I ever saw, and it was specifically like the episodes where Seven of Nine first appear, which is
Yeah,
a
of
formative
course,
a
of course.
formative memory for many teenagers in the late '90s. Um, but I think it was it Scorpion, maybe his name? I don't know. The Borg episodes where 7 and 9 showed up, and I saw it for the first time. And I was like, "What the fuck are these like cyber zombies? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Let me watch this." And of course, like that's like was a season finale, so then I got to go through the rest of the season, starting from the beginning as they did reruns, and then I finished the series, and then later when it I guess hit syndication, I don't even know if that's the term. I actually like went back and saw like most of the entire series. And yeah, so I've seen this, but it's been 30 years. And this episode is just fucking nuts as I was what I recall of it. Salamanders are fucking with like warp technology that's never referenced again. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch Janeway and Tom Paris turn into salamanders and then abandon their salamander family and never speak of it again.
I know. Like, I guess we have to decide: are they bad parents? Like, who is the what is the biggest sin of Threshold? Is it against nature in general? Do we call space CPS? Like, we will deliberate.
Yeah, do the salamanders like have the potential to be like grown into human beings? Like they potentially abandoned children that they could have raised. Like I mean, it'd be one thing if they just left salamanders back there, but presumably, I've seen the following episode. I know Janeway and Paris returned to normal. Could they have not like used that
You
process
are
on the salamanders
so
to
right.
like create human babies for Janeway and Paris? I don't know. No one's ever going to answer that question. I
Oh
doubt
my
we will either.
god. They fully were just like, should we bring them? That's a lot of explanation to the Federation. Maybe we just abandon them here.
No, I mean it would have made sense. Like just like because I mean they breathe fast, presumably. So just like
Right.
keep the salamanders cranking out like salamander babies that could be turned into humans because the Voyager is lost in the Delta Quadrant. Like they have to have some way to replenish their forces.
I mean, that's not a very deep gene pool, though. You're basically like fucking with the gene pool in terms of like inbreeding real fast, right? If all of a sudden the ship is everyone is genetically linked to either Janeway or Paris, we are going down a very upsetting.
All right. Well, instead of going down that upsetting path, how about
Yeah.
we just watch the episode? So this is only
Speaking of
46
upsetting
minutes.
paths,
Yeah,
okay.
this is. So I think we'll just do like 10-minute increments. We'll get like
10-minute increments. Okay.
5-ish, segments out of this and see how it goes. Like it's most like Voyager episodes like have like distinct acts. So maybe I mean it's only 45 minutes. We got to get like an act per 10 minutes, I would think. I don't know.
Hmm.
We're gonna find out. Rachel, are you ready to go?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Let's do it anyway. All right. Pushing play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
back with the first 10 minutes. Rachel, are you aware that they are going to cross the threshold? They're going towards the threshold, and then they're going to cross the threshold, and then they're going to continue to do threshold things. I'm pretty sure they've name dropped the title of this
Yeah.
episode about 17 times in this first 10 minutes.
Thank God that we did not decide to do a drinking game tonight.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I would be deceased.
Well, what would it even have been? We'd have had to
I
have
drink
called
every
that
time they say
early.
threshold.
But we didn't know that. We didn't know.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
let's set this up.
Okay.
Every Voyager episode seems to have like a teaser. I'm trying to think like, did I make that up or do they all start with like a teaser?
Cold
I think
open, yeah.
yeah, cold open. I think they start with that. But it's Tom Paris in a shuttle, and he is trying to get to warp 10. And I guess warp 10 is this like strange thing where if you hit warp 10, just the universe becomes chaos. The rules of physics and science don't apply and whatnot. But he's trying to get there anyway because he's Tom fucking Paris. And
Right.
so he's in a shuttle. He's pushing the weird buttons on the shuttle consoles that aren't buttons, but they're not really touch screens either. And then the shuttle explodes, and cut to he's laying in the
Beast.
floor of the holodeck, and B'Elanna Torres tells him that he is dead. So the whole thing, it wasn't a dream; it was a holodeck simulation.
Yes.
So they're incredibly disappointed. He and Harry Kim and B'Elanna Torres they go to get some lunch. They're going over notes, and then like the worst character in the show, Neelix, shows up and it was like, "Hi, would you like some of like just as an aside, if you were asked what your favorite Voyager character is, every character is a valid answer except for Chakotay and Neelix. Fuck them, they suck."
The hardest of agrees. The hardest of agrees. They are the worst, and their episodes are always the worst.
Yes, absolute
Skip.
hot garbage.
Yes.
I hate the very end of the series, just like, and then 7 of 9 and Chakotay started dating. Sucks. Hate it. Absolutely terrible.
Yes.
Spoilers. Anyways,
Patriarchy. I blame
uh,
the patriarchy. This is why when they say feminism is for everyone, if everybody got on board with feminism, then we would never have had to endure that ending. I just want to say that. That's my case for feminism.
fair. I am on your side. Uh, so Tom, Harry, and Torres are hanging out in the mess hall. They're going over notes, trying to figure out, how to fix the ship. They say threshold another 6 or 7 times, and then in
With a
comes Neelix.
lot of jargon.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we can.
Time.
The warp nacelle is going to explode at hyper light time space stuff. Like this, the words they say could be thrown into any sci-fi show, and it would make just as much sense. It's just clearly like just shit they made up. But that's
Sci-fi
fine.
generator nonsense.
It's one of the reasons that we love shows like this.
Totally. And who cares, right? They're just basically setting up a scenario where we can get to whatever, like, stoned out of their fucking mind writer was like, what would be excellent? Sex with space
salamanders.
I will say they're like, they want you to know this episode, it's the twist episode. We had the cold open twist, and then the explanation that what were they called? The new cells or the
nacelles, I think.
The nacelles were not tearing off the ship. The ship was tearing off the nacelles.
Yes.
So they're just like,
and then the front end of the ship was going faster than the back end of the ship, and that's causing a warp destabilization field. So if we just repolarize the front of the ship, everything will be just fucking fine. Anyway, Neelix shows up while the competent people are trying to have a conversation, and Neelix is like, "Oh, you all look, terrible. Perhaps I can help." And Tom Paris is like, "Neelix, you're so fucking stupid, but I will humor you. Have a seat with us so I can tell you to your weird butt crack nose how stupid you are."
He is like Guinan if you got it from Wish. Like, that is who Neelix is.
So, like, Guinan, if you have no charisma and just like you're only in the series because like we had some extra money left in the makeup budget, and they would take that money away from us next year if we didn't spend it. That's how you wind up with Neelix.
Some Neelix heads are going to come out in the comments.
Those don't exist. Those do not exist. Even the guy that plays Neelix probably hates Neelix. So Tom Paris is like, "Fine, Neelix. How would you fix the blah 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 destabilization nacelle explosion warp 10 field?" And Neelix is like, "Oh, well, let me tell you a funny anecdote I know." And then suddenly Tom Paris and Harry Kim are like, "You know what? Shit, that actually makes sense. Thanks, Neelix." And then they go off to run another simulation. So they go back to the holodeck, and Harry Kim and Belana Torres are watching things, supervising. Tom Paris is in the holo shuttle, and as Rachel pointed out as we were watching, like, the director clearly told him to pretend like he was riding a pony, because the entire time he's just just trying to simulate moving. So he says threshold another 4 times, pushes some buttons on the shuttle, and success, warp 10 has been achieved. And so they all go and present their findings to Captain Janeway, and I don't know, what's Chakotay's rank? Is he like first officer? I know, first officer douchebag is
first
there too.
Bomber.
And so they play a recording of the simulation. Everyone's like, "Oh, congratulations! You for the first time ever, you hypothetically could achieve warp 10. Tell us your flight plan." And seriously, Tom Paris's flight plan is, "Well, I'm gonna fly the shuttle out. I'm gonna push the buttons to start warp, and then I'm gonna hit warp 10, and then I'm gonna drop out of warp. Thank you very much for coming to the meeting. We appreciate your contribution." Paris, they request, Captain Janeway, please authorize us to like actually attempt this in real life in a real shuttle. Everyone is very happy to give Paris the go ahead to do this. Everyone's happy, but then you got to introduce some sort of a problem into the episode. Mm-hmm. So later on that night, Janeway knocks on Paris's door. He's wearing his best like pajamas,
Yeah.
and Janeway tells him.
Mood shift. Vibe shift.
Janeway tells him, like, you can't go on the mission anymore. The doctor recommended Harry Kim to do it because you've actually got like brain damage that, and there's a small chance
Enzyme
that,
issues. There's some
yeah,
enzyme issues.
something cortex threshold will not be met. Basically, like, there's a small chance that if he achieves warp 10, he will have an aneurysm and die. And
Yes.
Tom Paris is like, you can't do this. It's like, when I was a kid, my daddy told me I would do something special. That's not something we're making up. He actually says that shit. And
he's
like,
the handsomest boy in his whole school. His mom said so.
You can't take this away from me. Like, it is, my dream, my destiny, et cetera, to cross the threshold. And that's where we are paused. We are waiting for Tom Paris to talk Janeway into letting him go on this magical warp 10 salamander adventure. Rachel, thoughts?
Boy.
I mean, like, great episode or greatest episode?
I mean, it is teetering between the two for me. I appreciate what's happening right now quite a bit. Like, it is so absurd. It's still within the realm of the Star Trek of it all, but it is already, the absurdity feels like they're just cranking the dial. For one thing, that they wouldn't let him go on this mission because of some like 2% thing. All they do is dangerous shit on this show. Like, that's all they do. They break the freaking prime directive on the daily. They're in the Delta quad. Like, they don't. 2% risk? Are you kidding me? It's absurd. But it's all in service of this one idea, and you can feel them constructing towards this one idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was like to see this for the first time, because again, like, I started with the 7 to 9 episodes, and then I went back as the series made its way through reruns, and I'm trying to remember what I thought when I first saw this, because the internet didn't exist at the time, or I guess it did, but it was not common. I certainly didn't have it. No. I had no way of knowing that weird salamander episode was in the cards. So like, I'm trying to put myself in the headspace. Like, so far, this is just a normal Star Trek episode. It's just, hey, we're gonna conduct a science experiment. It's probably going to go wrong, and then we're gonna have some scenes in the middle where shit continues to go wrong. Someone's gonna have an epiphany, and then we're gonna pull it together at the end.
There'll be some folksy moment. Like, the Neelix thing came so early. That's the weird thing. It's like, usually that happens in the climactic moment, right? Where someone comes in and like tell some story, and then they're saved through metaphor. So already they're kind of mixing up the formula a little bit in a way that
it's just it's like, I'm only into it so far because I know what's coming. Like, if not for the salamanders, like, I would think like, this is a very boring opening. Like, I don't really care about warp 10. I know they're not going to get home. Like, warp, because they say, like, if you go to warp 10, you could just instantly transport to anywhere in the universe. So they're trying to figure out warp 10 so they can just get back to Earth and whatnot. Clearly it's not going to happen. I know there's 8 more seasons after this or whatever.
Right. 7 or 9 isn't even here yet. But like, to your point though, I'm desperate to know what people thought about this when it first aired. It feels like, what's amazing to me is you saw it on a rerun, because this feels like one of those, like, all these shows have that one episode that airs once and then they're like, ooh, mistake. And like, there's like an X-Files, Lost X-Files episode. This feels like it should be the lost episode of Voyager. I cannot believe that they did this once and then we're like, yeah, more times. We're going to air this more
I know
times.
I saw it on TV at some point.
I believe you. It's just wild.
I'm into it, but only because I know what's coming. Like, this 10 minutes is like probably the most generic 10 minutes. Like, you could take this 10 minutes and put it at the beginning of any other episode of Voyager, and it would just mesh right into it. Like, it's just, they set up they set up very little of what I know is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I'm also thinking about they're doing some character work here with Paris. What do we know about him so far? Like he's smart, he's entitled, he's daring, he has a sense of like destiny and I don't know. I feel
He's
like all of
desperate for
that
his
feels.
daddy's love is something that I know from other episodes in the
Is that
series.
true? I don't
Yes.
you know what? I gotta be honest. I watched the show. I barely remember him. He was so a non-factor for me when I watched this. I'm like, oh, he had daddy issues?
Yeah,
Gone
I
from
think
my
his
memory.
backstory is like he was like he might have had a criminal background and his dad is like a respected
Yes.
Starfleet member and he's a oh god, there's an animated
Yes.
picture of him. That's weird. Yeah, what's his Starfleet career? Early post. Oh, was he with the Maquis? He was expelled from Starfleet at one point. I'm just getting the
Mm.
highlights from his wiki page here. Yeah, he is desperate for Daddy's love. Is
I feel like there were some
I think
signs, some
I
red
think Daddy Paris,
flags. Maybe
Daddy
we don't take
Paris,
him.
Daddy
Mhm.
Paris is a respected Starfleet member. Meanwhile, Tom Paris is getting accused of treason and banging salamanders. Little bit of a disconnect there.
You know me, I'm pretty open-minded about things, but I feel like this crosses some lines. I think
Crosses a
maybe
lot of
we don't
lines.
take him to the Delta Quadrant.
Or like
This crosses some thresholds for me.
or just lock up all of your salamanders so he can't get to them.
Ooh. Yeah, I guess that's
All
right.
right.
Let's keep the terrariums away from him.
I'm ready for the next 10 minutes of Threshold. Right, Rachel, are you ready to
Hell
Threshold?
yeah.
It's time to
I'm ready to
Threshold.
threshold.
All right,
Let's
we're
let's
doing it.
do it.
Minutes 10 through 20. I am pushing play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My God, I'm thresholding so hard right now. Oh boy, oh
Wow.
boy.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
I'm into this for all the wrong reasons.
100%.
This
Same.
is amazing. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see more. So Paris completes his story to Janeway about how like Papa Paris and all of his teachers constantly told him, "Oh, you're going to do something special and historic one day." But then he just committed a little bit of light treason, which doesn't even get punished these days.
I
And
know.
so he convinces Janeway to let him go on this magical salamander adventure. And so he gets on the ship. It's the USS Cockring, as Rachel continues to call it. And
I said it one
that's more times than I said it before now. Uh, so
We are tied.
Paris is on the Cockring, and he is he's on the ship. He pushes the magic buttons to achieve warp 10, and succeeds. And he just disappears from the sensors. And Tuvok, in like his one line so far in the episode, it's like, oh, he's exceeded our maximum range. Switch to long range scanners, but he's just gone. Paris is gone. They can't find him. But then he just randomly reappears, and so he's alive. The shuttle is fine. They take him to sick bay. They I guess I'll take the shuttle back. Um, and Paris gets examined, and the doctor and he's fine. Janeway is like, "What's wrong with him?" And the doctor's like, "Absolutely nothing. He's just asleep." And Janeway's like, "Well, can you wake him up?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And he just yells in his ear to wake him up. It's fantastic. Love the doctor. There's so many
The
great
doctor is
characters in this
great.
show. Um,
Yeah.
but Tom Paris wakes up and he begins. Well, first, was the project successful? And everyone's like, "Yes, you're the first person to achieve warp 10. Congratulations." What was it like? And he starts explaining that he was everywhere at once. He was in the
Yes.
shuttle. He was also watching himself be in the shuttle. He was on Voyager. He was even back on Earth. He was everywhere at once. And they download the shuttle's like I don't know, memory and
Telemetry or
telemetry, yeah,
something?
something, what a
Yeah.
science word. And it confirms that, yeah, there's data on star systems that Voyager has never been to. So this shuttle just went everywhere in the span of a couple of seconds, and then it came back. And so the Torres and Janeway are very excited. Like, we can use this to, even if we can't achieve warp 10 and just instantly teleport home, we can use this to, plot the shortest possible course, because now, like, we can just we can plot the fastest path home, essentially. And
Yeah.
Janeway's thinking ahead, like, this would change the entire course of human nature, like instant teleportation to anywhere in the universe. It's going to be great. And so Paris is
Yeah.
immediately like, okay, let's do it
What
again.
could go wrong? What
And
could go wrong?
the doctor's like, not yet. Let me run some tests on you. And he sasses Tom Paris. It's like, please, my lord, may I run some more tests on His Highness? Uh,
He's
but
so shady.
he is.
Everything that comes out of his mouth is so shady, and I love him for it.
Well,
I
the
had
doctor's
forgotten
one of the
about the
best.
doctor, and like being reintroduced to him, I'm like, oh, that's right.
He was a
the
sassy
best.
bitch, and we love him for it.
Yes.
So, anyways, Paris presumably has a clean bill of health. He goes back to hanging out with B'Elanna in the mess hall, and Neelix pours him a special cup of coffee, and he's like, what's even the name of this? It's like, I don't know, the Paris Delight or something, which sounds like a sex act.
That sounds right.
And
that's coming in the next 10 minutes.
Yes, coming. But it's a special cup of coffee, and Neelix is like, oh, I named this coffee after you, and Paris is like, what? Oh yeah, cool, thanks. And just completely like shits on Neelix, as one should.
One should.
And Tom Paris like takes a drink of the coffee and is like, wow, this tastes like ass, and just gets back to work. He is discussing things with Torres. Oh yeah, we need to expand the shuttle's memory so we can get even more star data and whatnot. And then Paris starts to like be in pain. At first he thinks it's just Neelix's shit coffee, but then he starts grabbing his head, and he passes out, and he's got like all the veins on his head are like highlighted in blue, like he's having some sort of strange reaction. Torres calls the medical team. It's like, hey, teleport Paris right to sickbay, and they can't. He's like, his pattern. I don't know. His pattern keeps changing, and I guess if you watch this show more than I have, you know what that means. Basically, they can't like lock onto him with the teleporter, and so a medical team just carries him to sickbay, where the doctor informs everyone that he's having an allergic reaction, but not just an allergic reaction to the coffee. He is now allergic to water. And the doctor, I'm pausing a very confused face from the doctor. And that's where we're at. No salamandering yet, but I know it's coming.
Oh, it's coming.
I love this. This is such a treat.
Yes, I mean, I will say we said the first 10 minutes could have been any episode, essentially. The Neelix metaphor came a little early, but otherwise, yeah, it could have been any episode. These next 10 minutes, oh no, the weirdness has ramped up profusely, and like I know that it's being colored by knowing kind of where this goes, but every single thing that comes out of everybody's mouth is like so dirty and double entendre. Like everything it's insane. Like if they wanted to turn this into a porn parody, they don't need to rewrite a word, not a single word.
Just
everything
slightly change the inflection on words, like it's just the thresholding and the coming and the salamandering, if that's what you're into. Just this is both
Wild.
This is both the episode where they turn into salamanders and the porn parody that they play completely straight.
Yes,
everyone is horny for each other in this episode.
You are a filmmaker. Do we just make obviously we couldn't, it wouldn't be like actual hardcore, but like, do we just take a version of this and make the like adult version of this, but like literally not change a single word?
I feel like we're gonna have to start making changes when the salamanders happen, but I'm here for it. Like, let's do it. Let's run this by Matt.
I'm just imagining DJ in a salamander costume now.
I try hard never to imagine that.
Well, it's in your head now.
No, it's not. It's gone. This is awesome. This is so much fun. Everyone is just very stupid. Hi, Mossy.
Very stupid. Oh, Mossy.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm ready for more of this. Like, we're getting to the point where like shit is like really starting to pick up, which is good because it's only a 46-minute episode.
Yes, definitely. And I will say a lot of doing these shows is fun because of this part of it, you and me, but it's rare that I'm actually entertained while we're watching. Usually I just ramble nonsensically through the entire thing. There were whole sections of this where I was silent
Yeah, you
because
can
I'm
tell that we are
genuinely
watching something
enjoying
we
it.
both enjoy when no one is talking. We're paying attention to the film, whatever episode. Yeah,
Totally.
I'm into it. Rachel, are you ready for the next 10 minutes
Hell
of
yeah. Let's do
Threshold?
it.
They
Let's
went
get into it.
they went 2 minutes without saying the word threshold this time. So we'll see how far they get in minutes 20 to 30 of Star Trek Voyager Threshold. Pushing play 5 4 3 2 1 go.
Pepperoni!
Oh my god. Pepperoni!
Incredible. An incredible 10 minutes. This guy, Tom Paris, this is his finest acting. It's fantastic.
Wow. There's so much. Just even this freeze frame is so much. There's so much happening. I was saying while we were watching, this is the monologue that all aspiring actors should be giving when you are in front of a casting director. You will go on such a journey to the pathos of not being able to cry, to a loss of virginity, to a love of cured meats, to trying to kiss Cass. There's so much happening. There's so much happening. And now he just looks like Biff from Back to the Future. I don't know.
He's pretty disgusting right now.
Yeah, it's like Brundle Biff. Yeah.
Yeah. This episode continues to be incredible. Yeah, Paris is just on the sick bay table, and I don't know, the doctor's like, his body is changing, and Paris starts suffocating, and the doctor's like, oh shit, like his lungs can't process oxygen anymore. Computer, erect a force field and fill it with salamander gas, and the computer knows just how to do that. So
Salamander gas.
So the force field is filled with salamander gas, and that allows Paris to continue to breathe. And he just starts going on this incredible monologue about his. He tries to put the moves on Kess, and it's not happening. He starts talking about his home and his father and his room in his house, and how he lost his virginity in that room. Pepperoni.
We were like screaming laughing during
this is
section.
Amazing. I hope everyone watching us right now also has the episode pulled up, because you need to do this. If you've never followed along on any other Stevecast, this is the time to jump in with season 2, episode 15 of Star Trek Voyager, called Threshold. Rachel, are you aware the episode is called Threshold? Have they said the word threshold enough yet? I don't think there was many thresholds in this last 10 minutes. Maybe they got them all out of their system in the first 20.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there will be another threshold.
They're going to cross the salamander threshold.
But yes. But this, I remember this episode being fucking insane, and it is so much crazier and more. Were these words? Was this scripted? Was this
exceeding
unscripted?
The threshold of your expectations? It's exceeding mine.
This. Of my, like, it's exceeding my threshold of believability. Now I know why when I watched this, I was like, did I dream that? Because I cannot believe that scene was a scripted scene that exists within the Star Trek universe and was put on television in the late 90s?
Yeah.
That is wild to me. And that, how has it been forgotten to the sands of time that people aren't just randomly shouting pepperoni all the time?
They probably just don't think about the pepperoni. They just think of the salamanders that he and Janeway become. At first I thought that like Janeway went on the Warp 10 adventure with him, but like she didn't. So it's like, I don't remember how she becomes a salamander. Does he bite her and she's a were-salamander? Does he force her onto the shuttle and they go through another magical Warp 10 adventure? Like, I don't know. But Tom Paris is doing this incredible monologue talking about meat and virginity and wanting to kiss Kess. Those three things somehow aren't related, and he's just, and then he dies. He starts like
Oh, right, he
suffocating.
dies.
His body breaks down. Like the doctor's like, oh, put up a biosuppression field around his cell membranes to stop the mitosis. It's just ridiculous science words. But he dies, and the doctor is, very, very just kind of like disappointed. Like he couldn't do anything to save Paris. And so Kess does go, now that the salamander gas has been drained from the force field, Kess goes and gives him a kiss on the cheek. And we cut to later on that night. The doctor is just sitting there in the dark writing a report, and he hears like scratching of some sort. And he realizes it's coming from Paris's body, he assumes. And so he goes and pulls the sheet off of Paris's head, and Paris is alive again. The doctor's like, "What the shit? Like, you were dead. How did this happen?" And the doctor's like, "You have the ability to process oxygen again. Your body has grown a second heart." And then he looks very scuzzy at this point. But then we cut to like another period of time later, and Janeway comes in to talk to the doctor, and he's like, his body is breaking down and changing. Like he's several of his organs have atrophied and absorbed into his body, and then he's grown new organs that I can't even identify. I have no idea what the fuck they do. But yet he's alert. He recognizes all of us. He knows his name. He knows all of us. He knows he's on Voyager. And Janeway's like, can I go talk to him? And the doctor's like, I mean, if you want to, it's pretty gnarly in there. And then she goes and sees Paris, and Rachel appropriately described him as Brundle Paris. Because he's real gross. And Janeway is about to have a conversation with him, and that is where we are paused. What an incredible 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Betrayal afoot. We discovered
this guy traitor. Is so nondescript. This is the second time I forgot to talk about him. So there's one scene.
Ensign mustache twirl.
Yeah, Ensign, I don't know, widow's peak hair. There was a scene earlier where the episode the camera just kind of like pans over to him, and he's like looking like kind of over his shoulder, all sketchy, and then like nothing happens. I completely forgot about it. I didn't even think to talk about him in one of the previous segments.
Well, there was a lot going on. To be fair, there was a few things happening.
But he comes back in this 10 minutes, and he is communicating with a member of the Kazon, and according to the wiki, because I forgot who the Kazon were, and he's like, yes, we have successfully achieved Warp 10. I only have 30 seconds to send this message before security detects me. I don't even know what he wants. Like, is he wanting to go join the Kazon? Is he wanting to money? Is he wanting Delta Quadrant credits? I have no idea, but yeah. Ensign Douchebag is turning over the warp data to the Kazon, and we'll see what happens to Brundle Paris. At some point, there's only 16 minutes left. At some point, the salamandering has to happen.
Yeah. What if this is like a situation where we have this like delusional memory, like this folie à deux, and there are no salamanders? It's like the Bats song all over again.
There's a picture of the salamanders. I think it's just going to be, we thought the salamanders were a significant part of the show, and it's probably like 2 minutes of salamanders. Which I'm still here for it, because this episode has been incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be significant salamandering in this episode. Like, I don't have my memories back yet, but I feel like maybe they didn't have the budget for like more than 35 seconds of salamanders.
Yeah, like maybe we like mentally created a bunch of salamander fanfic. Maybe it's just like one tiny little moment. I will tell you, to be honest, that's fine because I don't want him to be nonverbal because I want to hear whatever bullshit is about to come out of his face.
Dude, imagine if the salamanders spoke. That'd be.
Do
I
they?
don't. I don't think they
No.
do. But yeah, like, I mean, if the salamander just starts yelling about losing his virginity in the pepperoni room, I'd be here for it. Like I would listen to what the salamander has to say.
Pepperoni.
It's amazing.
It's
This is
amazing.
great. Yeah, I'm excited for this. We've got 16 minutes left. Are you ready? Do you just want to finish it? Because I don't know when the credits pop up.
Well, we'll discuss as we go.
All
What do you
right,
think?
all right.
Because I mean,
We
we might want to do the last five. I don't know. Yeah. You know what? It's the Steve cast. You tell me. What do
Fuck
you
it. We're
want to do,
finishing the
boo?
episode. We are
All
ready
right,
for the
let's finish it.
salamanders. When we come back, we will be discussing salamanders. So
Yeah.
we're at
We will have
minutes.
crossed the salamander threshold.
Yes. We're at 30 minutes. We are just going to finish the episode, and then we'll be back to talk about creepy lizard monsters, and one of them is Janeway. Anyways, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and push play.
This is the most insane thing we've ever watched. Somehow, the conversation after the salamander shit is even wilder than them turning into a salamander family. What the fuck did we just
It's
watch?
over.
I am speechless. I am literally speechless. I don't even know what to say about that final scene. My mind is exploding.
Just wow. Like so. So anyways, the doctor's just like, I figured it out, guys. I figured out how to save Paris. We just throw him in the warp core, and the warp core will kill his salamander DNA, and then his human DNA will just reassert itself. And so they take Paris, who has become like the fluke man from X Files, and they put him in, I don't know, some sort of casket stretcher looking thing. They put him in the
Yeah.
warp core, but then he breaks out. And so he breaks out, he starts running amok through the ship.
Amok. Amok.
And then like I didn't, this didn't like click. I think Rachel and I both kind of had an epiphany, like when she mentioned this didn't click until you said the Brundle Paris earlier, but this is very much like The Fly,
Yeah.
because he goes through an experiment that begins mutating him, and then his instincts cause him to try to take a female through the same experiment with him. And
Yeah.
so Paris is like damaged the warp core, and like so the power on the ship is fluctuating, so it suddenly becomes a horror movie, and yeah,
Yeah.
everything is dark and like skittering around. And Janeway encounters Paris, and he knocks her out, and he puts her on a space shuttle, and they both go through warp 10. And
Yeah.
Chakotay is like trying to keep pace with it, but the ship is going faster than any ship has ever gone. And so they lose track of him, and then cut to 3 days later. They figure out the shuttle's landed on
Jungle planet.
jungle planet, and and they begin hunting for Janeway in Paris, and they have become fully salamanderized. And I'll put a picture up when we get to this point. These salamanders are disturbing. They have like weird like
Hands.
catfish mustaches. They have weird like hands. And then Chakotay and Tuvok are trying to figure out like, what do we do here? And then 3 little baby salamanders pop up and badly CGI like skitter into the water. The doctor, by the way, has said at this point that Paris is evolving. Like he is still like, basically evolution was sped up for Paris by millions of years, and apparently
This is where we're headed.
in
This
millions of
is where
years,
we're headed.
yes, in millions of years, we're all going to be salamanders, Rachel. This is the
Jeez
future of
Louise.
humanity here. But the doctor
I
is
would
like,
explain
yeah.
some things.
The doctor's like, yeah, I can fix it. Just go catch him. So they, after Chakotay and Tuvok let the Paris Janeway babies just go into this funky like swampland, They bring Paris and Janeway back. The Doctor has healed them. He's debrundled them. They're now fully human. And then
this wildest part of the episode happens.
Paris and Janeway have a conversation, and the whole time, like, Rachel and I are just sitting there like, slack job, like I don't believe the shit that I am seeing, because Paris and Janeway have a conversation, and Janeway's like, you know what? I always considered having kids, but I didn't think it'd be with you. And Paris is like, well, I apologize for the whole thing. You know, I don't remember it, but I'm sorry. And Janeway's like, how do you know it wasn't your idea? You know, maybe I wanted to fuck. And and then Paris goes into a speech about believing in himself. And that's how the episode ends. It's just
no. He gets a promotion.
He gets a commendation. It's like, Janeway's like, so many people believe in you. You have so many people's respect.
So the sequence of events in those last few minutes is he turns into a half lizard man. He assaults his boss. He takes her non-consensually through the threshold, breeds with her, and then she's like, it's fine. Here's a commendation. Everything's great.
Not only was it fine, maybe it was her idea.
It is insanity. It is wild. Like I was saying, if somebody at work takes a tone with me, I never get over it. Let alone bops me over the head and turns me into a broodmare on a jungle planet. Like, you don't come back from that.
But we did confirm, though. Like, the Doctor found a way to turn salamanders into humans.
Yeah. Like, dipped on the kids.
They abandoned the kids. Janeway and Paris have 3 little salamander babies, and they're the only 3 of their kind. So there's just going to be like crazy, like inbred salamander mutants on this random jungle planet in the Delta Quadrant. Meanwhile, everyone else lives happily ever after and continues their journey back to Earth. Wow. Yeah, this is incredible.
I was a little worried when we were like pretty far into it. I was entertained, but I was worried because I was like, there's no salamanders. There's no salamanders. This is going to be a letdown. Somehow I joked, but the salamanders were not the wildest part of this episode. Like, even close. Even close. There was
those strange bonding.
Oh, yeah. My mind is blown. My mind is absolutely fucking blown. I can't believe this is a thing.
I love it. I love this. This is so much fun. This is so fucking stupid, but this is great.
To be clear, this is peak. Like, this is peak Voyager. It does, like...
We don't care about the fucking Borg. We don't need 7 of 9 or, like, the weird, like, Predator alien knockoffs. We need a crazy salamander banging between Paris and Janeway.
What are we gonna do next? How do we top this?
I don't know. I have no idea where to go from here. There's got to be, like, I want to say there's probably other crazy Voyager episodes. There's nothing that'll be this fucking crazy. Maybe we just Google like most infamous Star Trek episodes and watch like the craziness. But even then, like, how do you top this? Like, I mean, there was weird shit in Next Generation. There's no one became a salamander.
Mime episode, but even that can't touch it.
Yeah, I think I like what we're doing here. I think we try to find just like incredibly strange, weird one-off episodes of TV shows we like.
Yes.
And we'll do that 2 or 3 times and then we'll get bored with it.
Yeah. So in other words, that is it forever now, folks, until 3 episodes from now when we're done with it.
So I'm looking at the continuity and trivia for this episode on Memory Alpha, which is the Star Trek wiki page. There's not a whole lot here. There was a mention of this in the lower decks, like you said, where someone says, "Hey, is Paris still a salamander?" In 2018, I feel
like they actually showed them at one point too.
In 2018, an anonymous contributor submitted a fake science paper entitled "Rapid Genetic and Developmental Morphology Change Following Extreme Celerity," under the name of Louis Zimmerman, describing Paris's experiment, in other words, to several predatory science journals. 4 journals published a fake science paper on this episode, which is just incredible. Uh,
Wow.
wow. But no, it seems like no, this is just never acknowledged again in Voyager, and only acknowledged once in future Star Trek anything. Uh, but wow, what an incredible journey, Rachel! I am so thrilled that you had nothing
Yes.
better to do today, because this was
Honestly,
this was
I
a thing.
had I mean, you're joking, but after having seen this, I actually feel like I had nothing better to do today. This was the best use of my time, and I'm not even like being sarcastic. I had a great time.
All right, well that's it. That was Star Trek Voyager season 2 episode 15. Threshold, which they did squeeze that word in another 3 or 4 times in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, they sure did.
Hopefully you followed along. I have no idea what the fuck's gonna happen next. We'll find something good. But Rachel, thanks for joining me. Happy to have you as always.
Yeah, this is fun. I
I don't
love you
know.
so much. This was great.
People, go watch other things on the channel. I really don't care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.